Okay, welcome back to the next session of Design of Pre-Stressed Concrete Elements course. From the last two sessions, we were discussing module number 5, that is composite section. So in that I have been explained the concepts, okay, the different types of composite construction, and also I have been explained the analysis, that means how to analyze the composite section, okay, and how to come across the stress distribution diagram. Stress distribution diagram with respect to propped construction and unpropped construction. Okay, so what are all the stresses? Because mainly in composite construction the analysis, okay, in composite construction analysis will be changed based on propped type and unpropped type construction. So in connection to this, okay, propped type and unpropped type, the stresses will also vary. Okay, so in connection to the stresses, how to write or what are the loads we need to consider? What are the loads we need to consider for propped type and unpropped type construction? Okay, and how to arrive with the stresses or stress diagram? Okay, all those aspects have been explained or we discussed or we have been learned in the last session. So in connection to this, okay, let us work out our problems or let us go with the analysis of sections, okay, from this particular session. So let me take down the problem. So the problem goes like this: a precast pretension beam, a precast pretension beam of rectangular section as a breadth or I can say width, both are same, as a breadth of 100 mm and depth of 200 millimeter The beam has an effective span of 5 meter, is pre-stressed by tendons, whose tendons are, okay, that means the tendons are with a centroid coinciding with their centroids coinciding with the bottom cone, centroid coinciding with the bottom cone. Full stop. The initial force in the tendon, is 150 kilonewton, okay, 150 kilonewton. The loss of pre-stress, we need to be very careful with this. The loss of pre-stress may be assumed to be 15%. The loss of pre-stress may be assumed to be 15%. The beam is incorporated in a incorporated in a composite T-beam in a composite T-beam, okay, composite T-beam by casting a top flange, by casting a top flange of breadth 400 millimeter, of breadth 400 millimeter and thickness, or I can say depth 40 millimeter. If the composite beam supports, supports live load of 8 kilonewton per meter square. Please note down 8 kilonewton per meter square. So for this, calculate the resultant stresses. Calculate the resultant stresses. Okay. Calculate the resultant stresses developed in precast, and in situ concrete, okay, for a condition or assuming a condition. First one, unpropped. So for this unpropped composite construction, calculate the stresses. Next, propped. So the second condition is propped during the casting of slab. Okay. So now the very important assumption, assume modulus of elasticity, that is MOE. Assume modulus of elasticity for concrete, okay, for concrete in precast and cast in situ concrete is same. Okay. So this is the problem they have been given. Okay. So this is the problem they have been given. So let us go ahead. Okay. So how to go ahead with this problem? So before that, first we need to properly, okay, see or look at the problem. So what exactly they have been asked, and what are the parameters they have been given, and what are the assumptions they have been given. So with these conditions, we need to go ahead with the problem. So the first thing, so what exactly, okay, is, okay, demanding. So is demanding calculate the resultant stresses developed in the precast and in situ concrete. That means, okay, we know that the composite construction or composite section, okay, is a combination of precast pre-tensioned beam and cast in situ concrete. So in this, okay, is asking what will be the resultant stresses developed. Okay, resultant means considering all the condition, self-weight, live load of composite section, self-weight of precast, self-weight of in situ concrete, everything. So that is the meaning of resultant. So by considering all these conditions, okay, is asking the resultant stresses. So finally, okay, is asking the resultant stresses, okay, in the composite section. So for what condition? The conditions are unpropped condition and propped condition. for unpropped condition and for a propped condition. Okay, so based upon the unpropped and propped condition, you need to calculate the stresses. Okay, and okay, so this is the given thing. Okay, we need to find. And now, what are all the concept or what are all the specifications or dimensions that have been considered? So as I stated, a composite section is made up of two things, that is precast pretension beam and cast in situ concrete slab. So based on this, please observe here, precast pretension beam, okay, which is a rectangular section, please note down. Okay, so we need to be very careful. Now the precast pretension beam is a rectangular section whose dimensions are 100 mm width and depth of 200. Okay, so with respect to this, let me write down the diagram. So now I will write down the diagram. So this is the precast, okay, pretension beam, which is a rectangular section, okay, whose dimensions are 100 millimeter, okay, and 200 millimeter. So this is I will write it here. So this is a precast pretension, okay, beam. Okay, so I will notate it, okay, with H. Okay, so this is the dimension of a precast pretension beam. Okay, the beam has an effective span, that is a longitudinal section is 5 meter. Okay, so let me know it, the effective span is 5 meter. Okay, is pre-stressed, so this is a very, very important condition, is pre-stressed by tendons with their centroids coinciding with the bottom kern. Okay, that means have been placed, okay, the tendons, okay, at a particular distance, okay, and those tendons, okay, whose centroids are coinciding with the bottom kern. So now we know that what is the meaning of kern. Okay, so what is the meaning of kern and how to locate that kern? Okay, we have been learned from, okay, module number 3 in design of flexure. So in that I have been explained the kern zone. A kern zone is a zone where no tensile stresses will be developed. So that particular zone is called kern zone. I will repeat, kern zone or kern depth is a depth, okay, in which no tensile stresses, okay, will be developed. That is called kern zone. Okay, and also I have been highlighted how to locate, okay, the top kern distance and bottom kern distance, that is KT and KB. Okay, for example, if I want to locate KT and KB, so please note down here, okay, so if this is a rectangular section, okay, so now if this is a centroidal axis, now from the centroidal axis, okay, okay, I am going to locate, okay, a particular distance. So this distance, okay, which will be called KT, okay, that means KT is a distance, okay, of what I can say the CGS or centroidal axis of a steel measured from the centroidal axis of a section. Which is called KT. Like that, if I want to locate KB, KB is a distance in which, okay, it will be located from the centroidal axis of a section up to the steel or tendon. Okay, so that distance is called KB. So like this, we have been located KT and KB and we have been calculated KT and KB distance, okay, while doing the design of flexure. Okay, so please note down the bottom kern, okay, that means KB will come here, okay, KB will come here, okay, so that means, so from the centroidal axis up to this, now for example, if this is centroidal axis, okay, so this particular distance I can say KB, bottom kern point. Did you get my point? Whose bottom kern point distance, now I am going to, okay, note down or I am going to write down, okay, so later. Okay, So that is the condition they have been given. Okay, so very, very important. Okay. Next, the initial force in the tendon is 150 kilonewton. That means, so this tendons I am going to pre-stress with a pre-stressing force of 150 kilonewton. I am going to pre-stress the tendon with a pre-stressing force of 150 kilonewton. Next, so after pre-stressing, a very important point I need to note down here. After pre-stressing with a force of 150 kilonewton, the section or precast pre-stressed beam has undergone certain losses. Okay, those losses I am going to assume to be 15%. That means in 100% pre-stressing force which have been applied, okay, in order to pre-stress the pre-tension beam, in that 15% losses has been encountered. In that 15% losses has been encountered. Is it clear? Fine. So now, so this is the data regarding the precast thing. Now come to the cast in situ data. Now this particular precast pre-tension beam, okay, will act with a composite section. That's what I've been written. The beam, that is precast pre-tension beam, is incorporated in a composite T-beam fashion or in a composite T-beam by casting a top flange. Now, by casting a top flange of breadth 400 mm and thickness 40 mm. Okay, so now write down that. Okay, so I will write down that top flange, okay, of 400 millimeter and thickness 40 millimeter. Okay, so this dimensions, okay, is 400 millimeter and then 40 millimeter. So this is the dimensions. Okay, so this will become cast in situ concrete slab. Okay, so now this particular T section now which will act like a composite section. So as I stated, composite section is a combination of precast pre-tension beam and a cast in situ concrete slab. Next, and this particular composite section has been subjected to a live load of 8 kilonewton per meter square. Okay, so this we will discuss later. Okay, 8 kilonewton per meter square. Okay, so now, so we need to calculate the resultant stresses for these, okay, with respect to these conditions or specifications. Okay, so with respect to this specification and the conditions are unpropped construction and propped construction. Okay, this is the problem. Now, a very important thing you need to observe here apart from this is modulus of elasticity, because I have been clearly highlighted the behavior of composite section will vary. Okay, behavior of composite section will vary based on precast pre-tension beam and cast in situ concrete slab, because as I stated, precast pre-tension beam will be casted in a factory with a particular grade of concrete and cast in situ concrete will be casted in a site with a different grade of concrete. Since the variations in the grade of concrete, even though the grade of concrete, okay, sometimes remains same, the whatever the construction practices or manufacturing process you are going to adopt, so that will also, okay, sometimes vary. So that's why, okay, this modulus of elasticity will play a very, very important role. Now, modulus of elasticity of concrete in precast and cast in situ concrete is same. So this is a very, very important word. Very important word. That means this cast in situ concrete slab and a precast pre-tension concrete having a same modulus of elasticity, that is the modular ratio, that is precast modulus of elasticity to the cast in situ modulus of elasticity is same. That means is equal to 1. Is equal to 1. So when the modular ratio remains same, then also the problem changes. So based on the two conditions, the problem will change. Dimensions are written, it is ready. Okay, the conditions are unpropped, unpropped. In that unpropped, unpropped, one more important parameter, okay, whether the modulus of velocity is same or not, that we need to check. In the examination, if they didn't mention this condition, modulus of velocity condition, at that particular instance, you need to consider MOE, that is modulus of velocity of precast, pretension and cast in situ concrete slab as same. Is it clear? Okay. So now with this condition, let me work out the problem. In the next problem, I will show you that also. If modulus of velocity varies, if the ratio varies, okay, how the problem changes, how the analysis changes. Did you get my point? So now the problem is MO is same. So with respect to this, let us work out the problem. So now, as I stated, so this composite section analysis will be varied, okay, based on the conditions. That means, as I stated, the stresses we need to consider, that is effective pre-stress. Coming to the unpropped case first. Effective pre-stress, that is one thing, stress due to effective pre-stress. Next is stress due to self-weight of precast pretension. Next, stress due to self-weight of cast in situ. Next, stress due to live load on the composite section. So based on this, the unpropped will be calculated. But in the case of propped condition, the stress due to self-weight of cast in situ slab, instead of considering the precasting, we need to consider the whole composite section. This thing we have been discussed. Now I will go to repeat, okay, in the problem also. Let me go ahead. So let me go ahead with the first step. The first step is, okay, since we need to calculate the stresses due to the precast pretension beam, okay, let me know the sectional properties. Okay, so step number one, sectional properties of precast pretension beam. Sectional properties of precast pretension beam. So now let me concentrate on this yellow color thing, whatever I have been written. Okay, that is rectangular section. So I need to calculate all the sectional properties. What are those? So first thing, area. So that is the sectional properties of precast pretension beam. Okay, so this is precast pretension beam. So that is 100 multiplied by 200, which is equal to, okay, 2 into 10 to the power of 4 millimeter square. So please be specific with the units, which is very important. Okay, next, initial pre-stressing force, no need to worry, 150 kilonewton. Okay, have been written. Next, moment of inertia. So I'm not going to write down the text here. Directly I'm going to, okay, notate the text with a symbol. Okay, I'm not going to write moment of inertia. So the moment of inertia will be represented as moment I. Okay, so now the moment of inertia for this rectangular sections, we already know that. Okay, the formula is BD cube by 12. So that is 100 into 200 cube divided by 12. Okay, which workouts to be, okay, 66.67, okay, 66.67 into 10 to the power of 6 millimeter to the power of 4. 66.67 10 to the power of 6 millimeter to the power of 4. Next, sectional modulus, you already know Z. Sectional modulus Z. So now, okay, the formula is, we already know, I divided by Y bar. Okay, I divided by Y bar, and Y bar we already know. What is Y bar for rectangular section? Since it is a symmetrical section, the Y bar will be this, that is 200 divided by 2. So that is, you can write down here Y bar. So that is 200 divided by 2, which is equal to 100 millimeter. 100 millimeter. Okay. So now let me substitute that. 66.67 into 10 to the power of 6 divided by 100. Okay. So now this workouts to be 666.7. Okay. 666.7 into 10 to the power of 3 millimeter cube. Millimeter cube. Okay. And the next thing is self weight. Okay. Self weight. So now self weight of, okay, precast pretension beam. Self weight of precast pretension beam will be notated with WD1. I will notate it WD1 because many dead loads will come, hence I will notate with WD1. WD1 indicates self weight of precast pretension beam. So now the WD1 is equal to, how to calculate that? We already know, cross sectional area multiplied by the density of concrete. So that is 0.1 into 0.2 into 24. Okay, so we already, because I have already been taught in the module number 1, why I need to substitute in this fashion? Because I want the answer in kilonewton per meter. Okay, hence I need to substitute all the dimensions in meter and also the density of concrete in kilonewton per meter cube. So hence the answer will be, WD1 will be, okay, 0.48, 0.48 kilonewton per meter. So this is your WD1. Okay, this is your WD1. Okay, so now for this, what will be the moment? Okay, moment due to self weight. Okay, that means moment due to self weight of precast pretension beam. Okay, which will be, so let me notate the same thing, MD1. MD1 indicates moment due to self weight of precast pretension beam. So now the very important thing, okay, so since they have not been mentioned anything, okay, at which particular span I need to calculate the resultant stresses. Okay, hence I am going to calculate the resultant stresses at mid span only. So hence the formula, or I can say the bending moment will be maximum at a mid span, hence WD1 into L square divided by 8. So that will be the formula. Okay, so this is the formula. So the formula based on this, okay, if you substitute, the answer will be 1.5. Okay, so in the substitution also we need to be very careful. Okay, you will get the answer in kilonewton meter. Okay, you will get the answer in kilonewton meter. So 1.5 kilonewton meter. So this will be your MD1. Okay, next, okay, the very important thing. Okay, next we'll move on to the stresses. Okay, so we'll move on to the stresses. So now after coming to know about this thing, so let me go ahead with the stresses. Okay, now the very important thing, first thing, so as we know, okay, we need to consider the stress due to the pre-stressing force also. Okay, stress due to the pre-stressing force or initial pre-stressing force also. So hence write down, okay, because I think you people have been observed in the last session have been written, okay, the initial pre-stress diagram. So based on that I am writing or calculating the stresses. Okay, so the stresses due to the initial pre-stressing force. Stresses due to the initial pre-stressing force, okay, which is equal to, okay, 2P by A. 2P by A. So now, how this formula 2P by A? Okay, so now let me explain how this 2P by A, okay, as came. So now, please observe here, as the pre-stressing force is applied at bottom current point, okay, hence, so I will write down how, okay, or I will, okay, make you to arrive how to go ahead with 2P by A. So that is F is equal to P by A, plus m by z. So now this is the stress, okay, that has been encountered at bottom current point. Okay, F is equal to P by A plus m by z. Okay, so when the pre-stressing force is induced, okay, then the formula is P by A plus m by z. So this is the stress encountered at a bottom current point. Okay, now we know that what is that m? M is P into E. Am I right? P into E divided by Z. So now the very important thing, eccentricity will be at a distance of 1/6 of a d. Okay, that means this particular distance. So what is eccentricity? Eccentricity is defined as it is the distance between the centroidal axis of the section to the centroidal axis of a steel, or where the pre-stressing force is induced. Am I right? Okay, so now, okay, you can clearly see that the distance eccentricity is d by 6, and then what is z? Okay, the z for rectangular section, from the basics you know that z is equal to bd square by 6. So instead of using I by y bar for rectangular section, we can also use this formula, bd square by 6. So now let me substitute those things. So F is equal to P by A plus P into D divided by 6 into BD square divided by 6. Okay, am I right? So now 6 and 6 will get cancelled, D and D will get cancelled. Okay, so you left out with P by A plus P divided by BD, which indicates P by A, BD indicates what? B into D indicates what? Area, cross-sectional area. Yeah. So hence P by A plus P by A, 2P divided by A. Okay, so this is the formula. So like this, okay, I have been arrived with a 2P by A. So in the examination, you need not to write down all these things, but okay, but I have been showcased how, okay, that 2P by A I am arrived with. Okay, so now let me substitute that. Okay, so that is 2 into, okay, since we want the stress in Newton per millimeter square, so we need to be very careful. So 150 into 10 to the power of 3, I have been substituting Newton. Okay, divided by 2 into 10 to the power of 4 millimeter square. The answer is, okay, 15 Newton per millimeter square. So the initial pre-stress is 15, okay, Newton per millimeter square. Okay, next, they have been clearly mentioned whatever the pre-stressing force has been induced has undergone certain amount of losses. Because of this losses encountered, okay, the effective pre-stress will come into the picture. So hence the next thing is stress due to the effective pre-stress. So now stress due to the effective pre-stress. So that is, okay, they have been given 15%. So the left out is how much? 0.85. So therefore 0.85 into 15. Okay, we need to multiply that loss ratio, okay, into that initial pre-stress, that is 0.85 into 15. So the answer works out to be 12.75. 12.75 Newton per millimeter square. So this will be the stress due to the effective pre-stress. Okay. The next thing is the last one, that is in the case of precast pre-tension beam, is stress due to the self-weight of precast beam. Okay, the next thing, stress due to self-weight of precast pretensioned beam. So, okay, what will be the formula? MD1 divided by ZT, okay, in the top, and MD1 divided by ZB in the bottom. So now both are same. Okay, so let me write down, I can say plus or minus, both are same. So substitute that. So since I got the moment in kilonewton meter, we need to substitute in Newton millimeter because I want the answer in Newton per millimeter square. So now 1.5 into 10 to the power of 6, okay, divided by Z, 666.7 into 10 to the power of 3, okay, which is equal to, okay, which is equal to 2.25, okay, plus 2.25 Newton per millimeter square, which is at top, okay, minus 2.25 Newton per millimeter square at the bottom. Now, we need not to worry ZT and ZB because it is a rectangular section, okay, and because of the rectangular section, the centroidal axis will locate exactly at the middle portion or mid-span or center. So, hence ZT and ZB will be same. Okay, if I have come across any unsymmetrical I section, then ZT and ZB will change. Did you get my point? So now I have been calculated, okay, the dimensions of, okay, the precast and also the stresses, okay, arised in precast pretension beam, okay, and then stresses due to initial pre-stressing force and then stresses due to effective pre-stressing force. Okay, so this is the first step. Now let me move on to the next thing. And also you can write down the heading, instead of sectional properties of precast, you can write down, okay, stresses due to the self-weight of precast pretension beam. That is also best thing, okay, you can write down. Instead of sectional properties, you can write down stresses due to self-weight of precast pretension beam, okay. Because I have been written the formula, I have been discussed in that way, okay. Next, we will move on to the next step. So the next step is stresses due to the self-weight of cast in situ. That is the second step. Step number 2 is stress due to self-weight of cast in situ. Okay. So now let me go ahead. Okay, the same thing. Let me go ahead with the same thing. So now stresses due to the self-weight of the cast in situ, because I have already been calculated all the dimensions. Okay. So now self-weight of cast in situ, okay, which is equal to WD2. So now please observe the dimensions. Okay, so what is the dimensions? The cross-sectional area, that is 400 by 40, or I can say 0.4 into 0.004. So hence write down 0.4 into 0.004, okay, into 24. Okay, so not 0.004, it is 40 mm, sorry, it is 0.04. Okay, so why I have converted to meter? Because I required the answer in kilonewton per meter, and also the density of concrete have been substituted in kilonewton per meter cube. So these things are very, very important. So now 0.384 kilonewton per meter will be your WD2. So now with respect to this, calculate the moment. So now moment due to self-weight of cast in situ, which is MD2 is equal to, okay, so we already know what is the formula. Okay, once again the same thing. Okay, So WD2 into L square by 8. Okay. So now WD2 you already know. Okay, substitute that 0.384 and substitute L in meter, 5 square divided by 8. So now the answer will be, okay, 1.2 kilonewton meter. 1.2 kilonewton meter. Okay. Next, stresses due to this, okay, self-weight of cast in situ. Stresses or stress due to self-weight of cast in situ, okay, which is equal to MD2 divided by Z plus or minus, that is top and bottom. So now the very important thing, Z. Sir, should I consider the sectional modulus this or with respect to this? So now, since the cast in situ slab I am placing, okay, in unpropped case, please note down, in unpropped case, okay, in unpropped construction, I am going to calculate the self-weight or stresses due to self-weight of cast in situ slab in this way, okay, and Z, which I am going to substitute, okay, or which I am going to consider is the precast, because, okay, the cast in situ I am going to place on that, okay, with unpropped case. So hence the Z will be, I need to consider this. I think you remember the stress diagram. I think for the stress due to self-weight of cast in situ, which have been drawn, okay, have been stopped at this particular stage because it is an unpropped case. So for that unpropped case, we need to consider the sectional modulus of precast. Please note down this. We need to be very careful while substituting. So now let me go ahead. So 1.2, okay, 1.2 into 10 to the power of 6. Why? Because I need the answer in Newton per millimeter square. So hence 1.2 into the power of 6 divided by, what is the Z? So we already been calculated, 666.7 into 10 to the power of 3. So after substituting this, you are going to get 1.79. So that is plus 1.79 Newton per millimeter square, which is at top, okay, and then minus 1.79 Newton per millimeter square, which is at bottom. That means which is tensile at the bottom and compression at the top, okay, and then 1.79, 1.7 both are same, both are top and bottom because of the, once again, rectangular section. If unsymmetrical I section comes here in the place of precast pretension beam, then the ZT and ZB will change. Because of symmetry, in the previous case also and in this case also, we are getting the stresses, okay, both are top and bottom same. Is it clear? Next, so this is step number 2. Now, we also need to calculate, okay, the next is stresses due to the composite construction, because I have been told or I have been calculated, okay, the stresses due to the initial pre-stressing force, stresses due to the effective pre-stressing force, stresses due to the self-weight of precast, okay, pretension beam, next stresses due to the self-weight of the cast in situ slab, and the final left out thing is stresses due to the live load of composite section. Okay, stresses due to live load on the composite section. So let me go at this. Step number 3, stresses or stress due to live load on composite section. So now when I am going to consider the composite section, okay, will the area ZI remain same? Will the area IZ remain same? Or should I consider only precast? Or can I consider the dimensions of only precast pretension beam which have been calculated in step number 1? No. I have clearly written stresses due to live load on the composite section. That means now I need to consider the dimensions of this. Okay, so what will be the A, what will be the I, what will be the Z for this T section. Did you get my point? So now, so let me go ahead. Okay, so let me first go ahead with this Y bar, because you require a Y bar. Without Y bar or without calculating the centroidal axis, you will not come to, no. So now, let me calculate the distance from the top, hence I will write down Y top. I will consider this as a reference axis. I will consider this as, because whenever you calculate any centroidal axis, you need to consider the reference axis. Okay, I will write down once again here for clarity, so that you will be, having a more clarity. So this is the thing. So this is 400, this is 40, and this is 100, and this is 200. And this will be section 1 and this will be section 2. Okay. Whatever in the engineering mechanics or in the strength of materials you have been learned, I am repeating here. So we already know that is area 1, that is 400 into 40, multiply by, the distance measured from the top. So this will be your Y1. So that is 40 divided by 2. So I will write like that only. So which is 20. That is A1 Y1 plus area 2. 100 into 200 multiply by Y2. So this will be your Y2. Okay. Because I am measuring from the top. Okay. So hence 40. I will write like that only so that you will be more thorough. 40 plus 200 by 2. Okay. 40 plus 200 by 2. So this is your A2 and this is your Y2. White is, because the rectangular section exactly the centroidal will lies at the center. Next, divided by the same thing 400 into 40 plus 100 into 200. So which is, so therefore Y top is equal to 87 millimeter. 87 millimeter. So this is your Y top. Did you get my point? So please substitute, and check whether the answer is right. So now coming to the moment of inertia. So we require moment of inertia. So that is about the centroidal axis. So always we are going to calculate the moment of inertia about the centroidal axis. So now I is equal to, so we already know moment of inertia of the first section about the centroidal axis xx plus moment of inertia of the second section about the centroidal axis xx. Because I am going to calculate with respect to the centroidal axis, where centroidal axis represent xx axis. So now let me write down. So the moment of inertia, how to calculate that? Since it is a composite section, so we are going to use this formula, which have been discussed in the module number 1 also. So first thing is, it is a rectangular section, that is first section, BD cube by 12, BD cube by 12 plus area 1, 400 into 40 multiply by Y1, 20 minus Y bar whole square. So this is your I1 XX. I will repeat. BD cube by 12 plus B into D multiply by Y1 minus Y bar. So this will be your I1. Like that, write down plus moment of inertia of the second section, which is also rectangle, hence the formula BD cube by 12, 100 into 200 cube by 12 plus 100 into 200 B into D multiply by Y2. How much is Y2? 100 plus 40, that is 140. 140 minus Y bar, 87 whole square. So this is your I2XX. So like this we need to calculate properly. Next. So the answer will be, please check, 1948 1948 into 10 to the power of 5 millimeter to the power of 4. The answer will be 1948 into the power of 5 millimeter to the power of 4. So this will be your I. And finally, okay, let me go with the sectional modulus. Okay, so now a very important thing, okay, ZT. Now you need to be very careful. Now YT and YB are not same because it is a T section, composite section. So therefore I divided by YT. So what is I? 1948 into 10 to the power of 5 divided by 87. Okay, so which is equal to how much? And ZB ID divided by YB. Okay, so how to calculate YB? Okay, that is in the total distance. Okay, that is in the 240. So this is your 240. So in that deduct your centroidal axis. So this is your centroidal axis, YT, and this will become YB. So 200 minus, okay, 87. So which will be 153. 153. So the answer workouts to be ZT is equal to 225. 225 into 10 to the power of 4 millimeter cube. We need to be very careful regarding the unit and substitution. And ZB 128 into 10 to the power of 4 millimeter cube. Okay. So this is your ZT and ZB. So now I have been calculated everything. Okay, ZT, ZB, everything I have been calculated. Okay, so next I will repeat the steps. I have calculated all the sectional properties. Okay, I have been calculated central axis, moment of inertia, sectional modulus, everything. What is next step? The next step is to know the live load. Okay, so now the live load is, the next step is live load. I will rub this. Okay, so that get to know. So next is live load. Okay, that is live load on the composite section. Live load on the composite section. So now, okay, so please note down here. So this is a cross section. So please observe here. This is a cross section. So that is 400 millimeter. So it is like this. Okay, this is a T section. So horizontal distance. So like this you have been looking. Okay, so this will be your, what I can say, longitudinal section. Okay, so now since I am going to calculate per meter square, so we need to be very careful. So this load will be distributed like this, 0.4, okay, millimeter into 1000 millimeter, that is 1 into 8 kilonewton per meter square, because we need to, okay, consider the live load in kilonewton per meter. But in the problem they have been clearly mentioned 8 kilonewton per meter square. So hence the width, that is 400 millimeter, is 0.4 into 1 meter distance or 1000 meter, okay, 1000 millimeter. So therefore, okay, 1. Okay, so hence the live load on the composite section will be 3.2. That is WL is equal to 3.2 kilonewton per meter. So this will be your WL. Okay. So next, after calculating WL, let me move on to the moment. Let me move on to the moment. Okay, now moment due to live load on the composite section. Moment due to live load on composite section, that is moment due to live load MLL is equal to, okay, now the same thing, WL into L square by 8. Since they have not been mentioned, okay, hence I am going to calculate at mid span, hence WL into L square by 8. So now substitute that, 3.2 into 5 square divided by 8. So the answer will be in kilonewton meter. So the answer will be, okay, 10 kilonewton meter. 10 kilonewton meter. 10 kilonewton meter. So now for this, okay, moment, let me calculate the stresses. So now the stresses, okay, due to live load on the composite section. Live load on the composite section. Okay, now I am going to calculate a top and bottom separately. Why? Because ZT and ZB are not same. So hence ML, okay, ML divided by ZT, that is 10 into 10 to the power of 6. I am converting, okay, into Newton per millimeter square. So hence 10 into 10 to the power of 6 divided by 225 into 10 to the power of 4. Okay, which work outs to be 4.45 Newton per millimeter square at the top. At bottom, ML divided by ZB. ML divided by ZB. So that is 10 into 10 to the power of 6 divided by 128 into 10 to the power of 4. Okay, which is equal to 7.85 Newton per millimeter square at the bottom. Okay, so like this, okay, we need to calculate the stresses. So now, okay, if I sum up all these things, that is stresses due to the initial pre-stressing force, stresses due to the effective pre-stressing force, plus stresses due to the self-weight of the precast pre-tension beam, stresses due to the self-weight of the cast in situ concrete slab, plus stresses due to the live load on the composite section. You will get the resultant stresses for unpropped construction. You will get resultant stresses for unpropped construction at top and bottom. Is it clear? Okay, anyway, I am going to draw the diagram now. Okay, so this, okay, till this step, okay, you have been calculate the stresses at unpropped case. Now, if I want to calculate for a second condition, that is for propped construction, because in the problem he has been clearly specified for propped construction also. Hence, so please note down. So what is the change? So there one step will be changed. What is that one step that changes? So now everything remains same. That is, stresses due to the initial pre-stress remain same. Stresses due to the effective pre-stress remain same, no change, whatever I did. Stresses due to self-weight of precast, okay, pre-tension remain same. Stresses due to live load on composite section, what I did just now, that is also same. But one thing will change, that is stresses due to self-weight of cast in situ slab. In the unpropped case, have been calculated by considering the sectional properties of, okay, precast pre-tension beam. But in the propped case, since I am going to prop the precast, okay, I am going to calculate the stresses due to self-weight of cast in situ slab, okay, in the case of propped construction case, by considering whole composite section. By considering whole composite section, I am going to calculate. So this is the only change in the propped case. So let me write down that, okay, the case B. So that is case 1. Okay, this is case B for propped construction. So for propped construction case, okay, so now I am going to calculate, okay, you can write down if the pre-tension beam is propped, the self-weight of the slab, you can write down that. If precast pre-tension beam is propped, then self-weight of the cast in situ slab acts on the composite section. So this is the only change. That means I need to consider the whole composite section in order to calculate the stresses. In the unpropped case, I have been considered only precast pretension dimensions. I have been calculated the stresses, that is Z. But in this case, I need to consider the entire thing. So for this, how to calculate? Okay, stresses, okay, due to self weight of, okay, what I can say, cast in situ, okay, at top, okay, which is equal to MD2 divided by Z top, MD2 divided by Z top. So what is that MD2? So that MD2 which I need to consider is the same thing, okay, the dead load remains same, so that have already been calculated, okay, that is 1.2 kilonewton meter or 1.2 into 10 to the power of 6 Newton millimeter. This remains same. The cell, okay, this remains same. But there Z top have been considered the precast thing, but in the case of proper construction, I need to consider the Z top value of, okay, the composite. So that is 225 into 10 to the power of 4. So this is the only change between unpropped and propped case. Okay, the answer is 0.53 Newton per millimeter square, which is positive, indicates compression. And please note down, okay, whatever the stress have been calculated, plus indicates compression and minus indicates tension. And coming to the bottom, at bottom, MD2 divided by ZB, okay, which is equal to 1.2 into 10 to the power of 6 divided by 128 into 10 to the power of 4, which is equal to 0.94 Newton per millimeter square at bottom, or I can say tension. Okay. So like this, we need to go ahead with the calculation of resultant stresses for a composite section. When the modulus of elasticity in precast and cast in situ is same. So when the precast and cast in situ is same, so we will go with these steps. So that is one thing. And the next thing is, in the unpropped case, while calculating the stresses due to self-weight of cast in situ, I am going to consider the dimensions of a precast pretension. But in the propped construction, when I am going to calculate the stresses due to the self-weight of cast in situ, I am going to consider the sectional modulus of entire composite section, that is ZT and ZB. So this is the only change, okay, in the propped and unpropped case. Okay, and this is the step I am going to follow if MOE ratio is same. If changes, what will be the change? I am going to explain in the next class or in the next session. So now, for this, I am going to write down the stress diagram. So that is very, very important, because finally, I need to represent everything in the stress diagram. Okay, let me represent, okay, both unpropped and propped. Both unpropped and propped, I am going to represent now, okay. So please note down that. So unpropped construction and propped construction. So let me write down that stress distribution diagram. Okay, so now let me draw this. Okay, so this is a composite section. So let me draw the stresses. So now please check, okay, so as I stated, so now the stresses due to the, so let me write down this also, 440, and this will be our precast 100, and this is 200, okay. Now, So first thing, the initial pre-stress, okay, which will be due to the precast ends 0 at the bottom, 0 at the top and 15 at the bottom. Okay, this is the initial pre-stress which already been calculated 2P by A. Next, since it has been encountered the losses, so hence we need to neglect that initial, hence have been written equal. So we need to neglect that. We should not consider this initial. So 0. So after considering the effective or after considering the losses, the left out will be 12.75. So this will be your effective pre-stress. Am I right? Next, we'll move on to the next. The next thing is stress due to the self-weight of the precast pretension. So that is, so as I stated, so which will be positive, negative, okay. So how much is the value? 2.25. So 2.25 at the top and 2.25 at the bottom. Why it is same? Because it is a rectangular section. Next, coming to the stresses due to the self-weight of the cast in situ slab, okay, that is, which is also same, positive, negative, which is 1.8 at the top, 1.8 at the bottom. Okay, 1.8 at the top and 1.8 at the bottom. Next, stresses due to the live load on the composite section. So now I need to draw the stresses diagram like this. Okay. So what will be that? So this will be positive and this will be negative. Okay, what will be the value? Okay, so please change it, 4.44, 45 and 7.85, a small change. Okay, so please you need to be little bit to the scale, not exactly to the scale, at least little bit. Okay, so now, so this answer will be 4. Okay, so what will be the stress we have been obtained? 4.45 at the top and 7.85 at the bottom. So now this is the stress diagram. So this is the stress diagram for, okay, or resultant, okay, what I can say, the stresses diagram for the unpropped construction case. Okay, so now let me write down that. Okay, so what will be the resultant stress, and you people need to calculate this value. So by interpolation, because this thing you need to require, so this value. So this, after interpolating, you will get 2.4. You need to interpolate, okay, consider this as 0, okay, 4.45, and what will be the value for this? Okay, you will get 2.4. So now the resultant stress diagram will be, okay. So now we need to sum up 0 plus 2.25 plus 1.18 plus 4.45 and 2.4 here. Okay, so that value will be, okay, so now 4.45, okay, 4.45, then the same thing remains, it remains same, that is 2.4 only, okay, that is, this value is 2.4 and this value is 4.45, okay. Next, this is 4.05, okay, and this value is 4.05. So next, okay, so that means 0 plus 2.25 plus 1.8, okay, and next plus 2.4. So that will be the total value. That will be the total value. Or you just add this 1.8 plus 2.25, so which will be 4.05. So hence 2.4 plus 4.05. So hence, next, draw the stress diagram like this. So that is at the top. And this 4.4 remains same. Next, 12.75 minus 2.25 minus 1.8, okay, and minus 7.85. So which workouts to be 0.9, which is positive. So this is 0.9. So this will be the resultant stress. So like this, okay, you need to write down. So this will be the resultant stress, and this is due to the stress due to the, okay, what I can say, the composite section, and this will be the stress due to the sulfate of cast in situ, and this will be stress due to sulfate of precast pre-tension unit, and this will be stress due to effective pre-stress. Okay, like this you need to write down. Hope you understood. Okay, you need to calculate this. Okay, and then 2.25 plus 1.8 will be your this value. Okay, and 4.4 remains same. And finally 12.75 minus 2.25 minus 1.8 and minus 7.85, which will get 0.9. So that means compression. Everything is compression. Now let me draw for the propped case. So everything remains same. The only change is sulfate of the cast in situ slab. Okay, that. So let me write down the same thing, no change. Okay, here also no change. Okay, next, here also 0, 0, 15, because I have already been told no change in this. Next, here also no change. Okay, so that is stress due to sulfate of cast in situ, precast pretension, no change. Okay, but coming to this case, stress due to sulfate of cast in situ, as I told, in propped case, okay, it changes. Okay, and the changed value is, okay, that changed value is what I can say, what we have been obtained, okay, in that particular is 0.53, okay, and 0.94, 0.53 and 0.94, okay, that is, so you need to be very careful while writing down. Okay, now so please you need to be very careful. This is 0.53 and this is 0.94. Okay, 0.53 and 0. This is the only change. Okay, and you need to calculate this value once again. Okay, this value, interpolate and calculate that value, and that value is 0.28. This value is 0.28. 0.28. Okay, and then rest of the things remain same, plus once again the same thing, that is 4.45, and then this is 2.4, same thing, next 7.85. So this thing. So this is the only change in the unpropped and propped. So in the unpropped case, you will consider this parameter. In the case of propped case, while calculating the stresses due to the sulfate of cast in situ, you are going to consider the entire composite section. So the rest of the things remain same. So for this, okay, if I am going to draw the, okay, the parameter, next, so the diagram will be like this. So this will be 4.98, 4.98, okay, and this will be, okay, one sec, 2.4 plus 0.28, so 2.4 plus, this will be 2.68, so 2.4 plus 0.28, 2.68, and remaining will be 2.25. So I have added these two, 2.68, and remaining will be 2.25. So this will be 2.25. Okay. Next, So finally that the bottom, at the bottom, which will be 1.76 positive, 1.76 positive. Okay. Just I have added the yellow and added, and left out portion is white color one, 2 point. Here also yellow color 2.4 and added 0 plus 2.25 plus 1.28, that is 4.05. And top it remains same. Here also 0.43 plus 4.5, 4.98. And in the bottom I think there is no confusion. Okay, so this is the diagram for, okay, the unpropped and propped construction case. So like this you need to draw. Okay, so like this you need to calculate the stresses and you need to draw the stress diagram. Okay, so hope you have understood completely, okay, how to calculate the stresses or resultant stresses for unpropped and propped construction cases. Okay, so you need to be very careful with respect to the stresses due to the self-weight of cast in situ slab in the case of unpropped and propped case. So there it changes. Okay, rest of the things remain same. That is one thing. And in this problem, the modulus of elasticities remains same. So it is another case. Okay, so like this, okay, we are going to calculate the resultant stresses for the composite section. So hope you have understood. Okay, hope I have communicated you people, okay, and the way you people have understood. So with this, I am going to end the session. Okay, we will continue with a few more problems in the next class. Thank you.